Okay. Do 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 do. Come chat, everybody. Alrighty, Rooney. Alright, just wait for the usual suspects to show up here. Smithy. Smithy. Always one of the first to show up. Always one of the first. Enemy TV. Senor Siete. CC. How is everything? Como te llamas? What is your name? Only when the notifications work. Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it. ¿Dónde la biblioteca? Tell me about it. ¿Dónde la baño? Soy exclemente grande. Three-minute warning. Everybody needs to get in here. We're about to start the show. Kratos' beard. I got a lot more gray in mine than Kratos does. Lord have mercy. Most of the bugs that I've seen in Cyberpunk on PS5 have been either little graphical glitches like Keanu Reeves smoking a cigarette and then he takes the cigarette away and there's like a clone cigarette floating in the air for like 2 seconds, or the usual body physics of killing a guy and he's stuck in his death position floating in the air, that kind of thing. Hello, video game lover. How goes it? 2-minute warning, everybody. A 2-minute warning. Oh, yes. Well, see, my TV is a 70-inch 4K that doesn't have HDR, so I don't have to worry about that. All I care about is that it runs 60 frames per second. No, I have not played Mega Man 11. Haven't gotten around to that one. Need to replace that TV. Eventually, it's about 4 years old. I've had one crash in Cyberpunk, and it was the scene where you had to go to this diner to meet the Japanese bodyguard guy, and as I was running into the diner, suddenly there was like a severe frame drop, and when I clicked to sit down, the whole game stopped and it dropped me back to the menu and I had to reload it. That's happened once, and then I played for 4 solid hours without anything happening. Didn't reboot the system or nothing. That's only like the second crash that I've had since I got the thing. And I haven't had like a full system crash reboot thing. I've just had 2 instances with 2 games where it dropped back to the menu. So once with Cyberpunk and once with Immortal Phoenix Rising or whatever that game's called. My character's junk was sticking out of his pants. Anyway, it is Saturday. It's 6 o'clock, December 12th, 2020, and this is the 7thCast. As always, I am your venerable host, your friendly neighborhood 7th. 8th is off in his room playing Cyberpunk on PC. He has an ultra-wide monitor, so he's playing on a 21:9 aspect ratio or something like that. And he has, I think, 16 gigs of RAM with a 8788 processor and GTX 2060 Super, I think, or RTX 20, whatever it was. It's 2060 Super. And he's getting 60 frames if he mucks around with the settings quite a bit. He has to customize his settings to get it at a solid 60 frames on his machine. Now, one thing that I have noticed about the PS5 version is it has fewer people walking around on the streets than the PC version does with that setting set to low. So there was something that was custom in the PS4 version, the base PS4 version, where there's less than half of the people walking around. I've noticed that. The streets aren't as packed. That being said, I don't mind it that much because every time you accidentally run over a pedestrian in that game, the cops show up instantly and it becomes a fight. So just makes it to where I'm not constantly getting accosted by the police for running over some dummy walking across the street. Yeah, I remember Mega Man 7. Seventh, does Tupac versus Biggie remind you of... No, because I don't get into rap, for one thing, all that much. Most of the rap that I listen to is old stuff. And I realize to you, Tupac and Biggie might be old stuff, but for me, to me, they're like newer rap. You know, I can remember when Vanilla Ice was new. I can remember when the Beastie Boys first came out. The stuff I listen to is like super old stuff. But anyway, people are being slow to show up tonight. Did you see the new Evil Dead game? Yeah, I did. My concern is that it looks like it's some kind of a multiplayer experience, which I don't really care about. I'd rather have, a good solid single player campaign where I can play as Ash running around killing deadites, and that's not what it looked like. That being said, I would probably end up buying it just to have it on my shelf as another Evil Dead video game, but it doesn't look like my kind of game so far, so I'm hoping to find out that I'm wrong there. So everyone seems to care more about what I think about Cyberpunk than what I thought about the Game Awards, so I guess we'll start there. Hi, Alex. All right, Cyberpunk. For one thing, it's a very good game. Hi, Chris G. It's going all right. I enjoy it. Like I was saying earlier, I've had one crash, and then I was able to play for hours without anything going on. No problems after that. Runs at a fairly solid 60 frames per second on PS5. The only time you'll see it dip is the same place where you see it dip on Xbox Series X, which is in certain areas of town when you're driving around. Considering that it's just a scaled up last generation game on the consoles, I think it looks surprisingly good. Everything is really sharp and crisp, relatively speaking. Obviously, the PC version is sharper and has more effects and everything turned on. I love the frame rate. Everything it plays smooth. It's very easy to play. and I'm really digging the story. I'm fully immersed in it. In fact, I'm so immersed in it that at one point I considered canceling the stream tonight just to keep playing it. But I didn't. I decided to go ahead and show up for you guys anyway. That being said, this is not the groundbreaking action RPG that we were told that it would be. And considering the fact that, it was first announced 8 years ago, there's been a lot of open world action Western RPGs that have come out since that time. And so the things that might have been an innovation when they first started talking about this game aren't so much an innovation now. And so as much as I love it and as much as I'm into the story, I have to admit that while playing it, the overall vibe that I get in the back of my mind is, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I've done this before. Yeah, I've seen this. There's not really anything new or groundbreaking about this game. It's just a really solid open world Western RPG with an absolutely massive map. That's it. That's really it. That's exactly what it is. What it boils down to is really, well, it feels like Deus Ex. It feels like an open world Deus Ex. That's pretty much my review of the game. It's open world Deus Ex. If you took some of the open worldness of Skyrim, put it in a dystopian cyberpunk Blade Runner type future, and then copied a bunch of the mechanics from the two recent Deus Ex games, boom, Cyberpunk 2077. That's it. That's what it is. And if that sounds awesome to you, then you will love this game. If that sounds like too much of stuff you've done before, then you're not going to like it. Or it's not going to blow your mind. You'll be like, yeah, this is a good waste of time. Me, I kind of skipped over the second Deus Ex, so I've been looking to, I own it, but I just haven't gotten around to playing it. I've been itching to play a game like this, and so, I've been enjoying it. But it's not going to be this, game that changes everything like so many people thought it was going to be. I heard people saying $70 is the new price tag for new games in this gym, but when I went to Walmart, I saw PS5 games that were $59.99. What gives? Well, you got to remember that Walmart buys games in bulk. And it's their choice after purchasing them as to whether they want to sell them at the recommended retail price or sell them at the price they want to sell them at. And that's why you can walk into a Walmart and see a $70 game for $59.99. Seventh, people under 17 should not be playing GTA. Okay. That's completely off topic, but all right, Terry. It's still strange for me to call PS4 last generation. True. You'll get used to it. Hi, Juggernauts. Let's see. So are you saying this game will not beat the sales of Minecraft? No, it will not. It has been the fastest selling game for CD Projekt Red ever. It's already made all of its money back. It's. I think there was like 8 million pre-orders on Steam alone. So all the copies that it sold on all the platforms it's on, it's already made its money back just in a couple of days. It's already at the point where it's profitable. How is Banjo on the new Smash Brothers game when Xbox owns the Banjo rights? Because Microsoft signed those rights to Nintendo to put them in the game. Just like Nintendo doesn't own Solid Snake, but Konami licensed the character to Nintendo to put him in Smash Brothers. It's no different. Hi, Klingon Gamer. Are you going to do a DBTS on Cyberpunk? No, because I think it's a good game. It's just not a great game. Do you like Death Note? I like the anime. I didn't like the live-action movie. I like the live-action Japanese movies, but not the one they made for Netflix. Hi, Ultra Steel. Thoughts on Bubsy? I've never played a Bubsy game that was good. I think Cyberpunk is overrated junk. I can't agree with you there. I've had a lot of fun with it. I don't think it's the masterpiece that everyone thought it was going to be, and I'm not going to spoil it, but not too far into the game, there's a character that dies that I actually liked that character and was looking forward to going on missions throughout the course of the game with that character, and then that character up and died on me. And I'm like, great. One less thing that I liked about the game, along with a hype blast. So that all depends. I'll get to the Game Awards eventually. Everyone was asking me about Cyberpunk first. Hold your horses and be patient. I'm watching your Xbox Done video. I always have fun watching your old stuff. I like the part where you said you're out of your... Oh, yeah. Just a warning, Jacob. When you put the F word in your comments in the chat, YouTube will automatically hide your comment. I can see them, but no one else can. 7th, do you think Legend of Dragoon had a chance of beating Final Fantasy VII back in the PlayStation days? No, because it was an also ran. It was never. I think the game is just as good on several levels. It just didn't have the promotion. It didn't have the advertising, and it came out after. So, have you seen Akadama Drive? No, I don't think so. Best and worst game of last gen. Worst game was probably Mr. Masagi or Life of Black Tiger. At least Mr. Masagi worked. Life of Black Tiger's got to be right there in the top 3, if not the worst game of last gen. My personal favorite game of last gen would be a tie between Ghost of Tsushima and God of War. Do I think I'd make a good president? No. I'm getting tired of all these spacey futuristic games. I think it's ruining gaming. Well, we haven't really had a whole lot of spacey futuristic games. Not lately, anyway. Nothing wrong with some sci-fi games, but, not every sci-fi game is a spacey futuristic game. Have you seen Jujutsu Kaisen? No. So, here's one last thing I'll say about Cyberpunk. I'm curious to see what the actual PS5 version will look like when that free upgrade comes out. If they come out with a physical PS5 edition of it, I may just double dip and buy it anyway, just to have it. But you hear a bunch of people talking about, oh, this game borrows so heavily from Blade Runner. Oh, it borrows so heavily from... No, it doesn't. It borrows from other things that borrowed heavily from Blade Runner. And one of the things that it borrows from the most, in my opinion, just on the few hours that I've played maybe 6 hours of it so far, is, ironically enough, that old 90s Keanu Reeves movie, Johnny Mnemonic. There's a lot of Johnny Mnemonic in this game. A lot. Almost to the point of being like the video game adaptation of Johnny Mnemonic. If you have never seen that film, you really should go check it out. It's quite something to watch that movie after having played Cyberpunk and realized this movie came out in like the 90s, before Matrix or any of that. Let's see. Oh, magic powers. Do you think Dead Space will get rebooted? Electronic Arts might look at that trailer that just popped at the Game Awards and say, hey, we still own Dead Space, don't we? You never know. 7th, I think gamers deserve to not take crap from bad business practices, but I noticed a lot of gamers nowadays have high expectations and nothing pleases them anymore. Your thoughts? Well, some people are resistant to change, like me. I don't like digital distribution. I'll never like digital distribution. And so I'm really not looking forward to what this future brings. And I've been complaining about it for over 10 years now. So, as people get older, people become less willing to just accept things as they are. It's just the nature of the beast. Yes, I like the John Wick films. Are you surprised Last of Us won Game of the Year? Man, you ain't going to give up, are you? No, I'm not surprised that The Last of Us won Game of the Year. Did I want it to win Game of the Year? No. Did I think it deserved to win Game of the Year? No. But I knew that Jeff Keighley and his little band of voters were going to kiss Druckmann's ass. It was as plain as day that was what was going to happen. And it just goes to show you that, he posted that little tweet begging his followers to go vote for the Player Choice Awards. And then when they lost, he turns around and he deletes the tweet. Claims it's because he felt that the wording was borderline being mean to people that didn't like the game. Well, you're a prick. And you shouldn't have won it for Best Director because you pushed that team through massive amounts of crunch. If you were a proper director and had proper planning and hadn't restarted the process so many times for various things where you decided to go left instead of going right, there wouldn't have been any crunch. And then, yes, you would have been a good director. But you worked some of your team near to exhaustion. You had people quitting left and right. Your direction caused that company to have a revolving door on its talent. And so, no, you were not worthy of Best Director, and the game was not worthy of Game of the Year. Period. End of story. Game Awards were a joke. They always are a joke. They always have been a joke. And there wasn't really anything all that great that was shown. And pretty much every person that I know who watches the Game Awards every year, they don't watch to see who actually won anything. They watch for the reveal trailers. That's the only reason that they watch. And there just wasn't really a whole lot to be excited about. The spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead, 8th is excited about that. I never got into that series, so I don't care. The spiritual successor to Dead Space, both 8th and I are interested in that. Sony showed off a trailer for Returnal or whatever. We've already seen that gameplay. 8th is really excited to play it. I'm a fan of Housemarque, so I'm interested in it. But at the same time, we've already seen it. There was nothing new there. Microsoft showed off a reboot of Perfect Dark, but it wasn't a mystery that Perfect Dark was being rebooted, and it's not the first time that Microsoft has attempted a reboot of Perfect Dark. If you remember and you go back and read up on this stuff, there was a period of time a few years ago where they had a different studio that was working, rumored to be working on both a reboot of Splinter Cell and a reboot of Perfect Dark. and they got pulled off of both of those projects and ended up eventually, if I remember reading right, morphing into the team now known as the Coalition, who's in charge of Gears of War. So, the fact that they created another team just to bring that game back again, it wasn't all that much of a surprise to me. And in fact, there was rumors confirming it all the way back in August. So throw that in with the fact that Perfect Dark Zero on 360 as a launch title was garbage, and I never did really care that much about Perfect Dark anyway. It was just Rare taking their GoldenEye engine and slapping a new story on it so they wouldn't have to keep paying for the James Bond license. It never was any kind of great mind-blowing thing to me in the first place, so I've never developed any kind of emotional gaming attachment to it from the get-go. I was hoping to see some more God of War, some more Ratchet and Clank, hear about another new exclusive. But if you'll notice, the last couple of Game Awards, Sony haven't exactly buried the show in new reveals. And especially not since they started doing their little December PSX events, which I assume they're not having this year again, like they didn't have one last year. So I wasn't going into it expecting to see anything mind-blowing from Sony. And I knew that at most we would get like one big reveal trailer from Microsoft. And, if you're excited about rebooting Perfect Dark, okay, more power to you. I know some people really like that series. I am not one of them. I'm more excited about that game that looked like Dead Space. And really, out of everything that was shown, that was the only thing that really piqued my interest, was that spiritual successor to Dead Space. That's it. Otherwise, I just felt like it was a waste of my time. Hi, Master Millions. I'm doing fine. Seventh, will you be discussing Disney's investors meeting from a few days ago? I don't really see a point. I mean, we knew that a whole bunch of Star Wars stuff was coming. We knew they'd be putting a whole lot more focus on Disney Plus. We knew they weren't going to follow HBO and have these digital releases same day as theater for free, that they were going to charge us $30 a pop for them. We knew that. And I will not be partaking in any of that, no matter what movie it is. I will wait for it to be free. If if I don't want to go risk going to a theater, assuming that everyone isn't vaccinated by then, I'm not paying $30 to watch it in my living room. I will wait until it's free. I waited with Mulan, and boy, am I glad I waited on Mulan. But the only thing that surprised me out of the Disney presentation was that they announced they were doing a sequel series to Willow, and that Warwick Davis was coming back to play old Willow. That surprised me. I did not see that one coming, but everything else was just kind of more of the same. Thank you, Seventh. I've been saying this all year. Johnny Mnemonic with a little bit of Blade Runner. Pretty much, yeah. Which do you prefer, the Game Awards or E3? I don't get excited about E3 anymore either, really. I just talked about Perfect Dark. Are you not listening, Terry? I platted Miles Morales. They just added ray tracing. Yeah, I know. Let's see. I'm surprised Halo didn't get a vignette. What's up, Seven? Just got here. Just talking. Have you ever invested in stock? At one point, I had some AT&T stock that was given to me because I was an employee at the time. And when they laid us all off, I just went and sold it. I didn't hold on to it. From Master Millions, you should check out The Pathless on PS5. Looks like it's fun. Got good reviews. That's actually one of the games 8th asked for Christmas. Was Phoenix Rising out of 7. Haven't played it enough to say. Thoughts on the Loki TV series? It might be good. There is a point in discussing the Disney investors. A lot of movies and shows I'm looking forward to. We want your opinions. I just gave them to you. Perfect Dark is theoretically a solid IP, overshadowed by the mediocre games thus far, but since I played the N64 game, I'm a little jealous it won't be on PlayStation. I'm not. I'm not jealous of it. Eventually, I'll own an Xbox Series X. If I was really all that excited about playing it, I would just go out and buy a 3080 and upgrade my PC and play it when it comes to PC, because you know it's coming. What are your thoughts on the game Scorn? I haven't played it. I'm happy Hayden Christensen's returning as Vader, but I don't trust it with Kathleen King. I'm surprised she still has a job. Was Mulan as bad as I heard it was? Well, it wasn't good. They basically turned her into a superhero, wannabe Jedi. So 7th, you like that the Revenge of the Sith actors are reprising their roles. It might be good. Let's see. Any good co-op RPGs? Not that I've played anytime recently. What's your favorite old school Game Boy game? Most of my memories of playing the original Game Boy are of playing Tetris, really. I remember liking one of the Castlevanias, but I don't remember which one, and I remember liking Super Mario Land 1 and 2. Thoughts on the King Kong 2005 game? It did a lot of things that you weren't accustomed to seeing a console do at the time. But if you go back and try to play it now, it's kind of horse shit. Are you still BFFs with Black? I was never BFFs with Black Bond. I get along with Black Bond. But he and I have never been BFFs. Do you think Obi-Wan should have been a movie? It would have ended up having to be a trilogy to handle all the story they're supposedly cramming into it. I know what Scorn is. I don't care about it. I haven't played it. So why would you ask me what I think of it? If I haven't played it, it's not out yet. I have no way of being able to give you an opinion on what the game is like. Have you played Panzer Dragoon Remake? No. Thoughts on Chris Evans playing the real-life Buzz Lightyear? I don't know. I don't really know what I think of that. It just seems like a really strange idea. Do I look forward to Gamescom? No. Thoughts on Uncharted Golden Abyss? It was okay. Had way too much stuff to try to pad the game out. Way too many things to collect. Having to do all the photo ops and all that garbage. Thoughts on Kirby's Dream Land for Game Boy? Didn't play it. Have you played 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim? It's the latest Vanillaware game and it was nominated for Best Story. Is it like some visual novel thing? Because that's what it looks like. I'm glad Mass Effect is getting a complete edition and that there will be a Mass Effect 4. Well, it depends on how much of it is a continuation of the story from the trilogy or how much of it is a continuation from the garbage that was Andromeda. Why is everybody just repeating the same questions to me that someone else already asked? I don't have to be here. I can be playing Cyberpunk. For real. Have you beaten Crash Bandicoot 4? I haven't played Crash Bandicoot 4. Do you think Gotham Knights will be a good game? It doesn't look good to me. What's your proudest moment as father for 8th? Just that he has become the person that he is. That he lived through all the things that he lived through and has ended up being a son to be proud of, and that more than anything else. 7th, what's up, my dude? From Sebastian Castellanos. Hi, Sebastian. How's it going? Why aren't you playing Cyberpunk 2077 right now? Because I'm talking on the 7th cast. Have you ever been in a school fight? Several. 7th, have anyone ever told you that you sound like Sega Lord X? I've watched Sega Lord X. I don't think I sound a thing like him. He does not have my accent, for one thing. Thoughts on Cyberpunk? I think I should wait. I have PS5. It has bugs. Already discussed that. I've experienced a couple of minor graphical glitches and one crash out of 6 hours of total play. Thoughts on Stadia version being better than the PS4 and Xbox? I haven't seen the Stadia version, so I don't know. You couldn't pay me to own Stadia. If everyone keeps asking the same thing, then go play Cybertrash. Exactly. Even though you're one of the ones that's been asking repeat questions. But Cyber 2077, yeah. Do you think we'll ever see a sequel to Ghost? Ghost of Tsushima? Ghost starring Patrick Swayze? What Ghost are you talking about, Chris G? Did you win your school fights? Yes, because I never started any of them. All except for one, which was more of a draw. Any thoughts on the new Disney Star Wars shows coming up? Some of them look good. Most of them look stupid. 7th, do you think Review Tech USA could be a good sports narrator with his voice? He could at least be a decent pro wrestling announcer. Make sure y'all donate something. He's a good man. That don't happen no more, Victor. Educate mediums. It's too close to Christmas. It's too close to Christmas. I do need money, though. Not for bills or anything. Those are all paid. As you guys know, I had not been making any new Redneck Retro reviews, and I haven't been streaming retro gaming because all this time I've been waiting for the Polymega to get here. And so the Polymega got delayed again, this time to March 31st, and I was like, screw it. I'm canceling this thing because Walmart just keeps authorization charging my account into oblivion several times a month. I'm not putting it up with it anymore, and I cancel it. And so now I need to find an alternative way to capture retro game footage and be able to stream. I've lost all my little connectors for this thing, and even so, this didn't have everything I needed on it. It was missing several games from every library. And so I've been shopping around looking to see. I don't want to have to go to the trouble of downloading a bunch of ROM sets and setting it up myself. So I've just been looking at, buying a retro console that already has everything loaded onto it. Another thing I didn't like about this one is it doesn't have MAME on it. And all of them are in like the $150 to $200 range, and being in the middle of buying for 8th, I don't have it. So that means that, at least as far as right now goes, that I'm going to have to be waiting another couple of months until after January, because 8th's birthday is in January, to where I'm going to be able to start streaming retro games and going back to doing the Redneck Retro reviews again, which is 2 months longer than, well, even far longer than what I initially told you guys that I was going to be able to get back into the habit of it. I know you can buy on eBay where someone has already. Thank you for the $2, enemy. Appreciate it. Here, have a. Where's my dollar bill at? Here, have a dollar bill. I know that you can go on eBay and buy a pre-built Pi 4 system that runs everything from Atari all the way up through Dreamcast and MAME, and that's pretty much all I would need. But they're a couple of $100 because they come with everything preloaded on them. And then there's Android-based consoles from China like the Super Retro X or whatever it's called. It looks like a little Super Famicom. I need to get something because that little thing ain't going to do the job anymore. And, Polymega, who knows if it'll ever come out. So that's what I'm saving for right now. I'm putting everything else to the side. I wanted that new foot pedal, putting that off to the side. I wanted an Xbox Series X. Can't find those anywhere anyway, so I'm putting that off to the side. So I'm looking to raise, $150 to $200 to buy one of these systems. And, when it happens, it'll happen. Thanks, 7th. Your recommendation of Mortal was spot on. That movie is awesome. Hell yeah, it is. I've got 6 kids, 7th. Is your wallet hurting like mine? Tough times, money-wise. Well, I only have the one kid. But I do have a lot of bills that take up the majority of my paycheck every month. Do you think we'll see another Division game? I didn't even play Division 2, so I sure as hell wouldn't care about Division 3. That drawing Chris did of you was awesome. That was a fun one, yeah. That's the second time he's drawn me, actually. I'm very glad I didn't pre-order Cyberpunk. I'm enjoying it. Paying to die, paying to pirate flag, I guess. Paying to pirate. Now, the thing of it is, 56K warning, for me it's not really piracy because I own such a large chunk of what's on there. It's just having the convenience of having one device where I'm not having to walk over there, pick up a 25-year-old console, hook it up, figure out and buy all the individual special cables I need to be able to stream it, and then hoping that the additional wear and tear of streaming it and capturing footage from it doesn't fry my 25-year-old console. That's the convenience of having one of these little retros. Sebastian, does Cyberpunk live up to the hype? No. Is it a good Western action RPG? Yes. Which was better, The Order 1886 or Ghost of Tsushima? Ghost of Tsushima. How long did it take you to beat Ghost of Yellow Belly? Ghost of Yellow Belly. I'm not getting the reference. 7th, one of my older sisters bought a Jeepers Creepers movie, but I don't think she's aware of the bad stuff behind the director. Should I throw it away? I feel bad owning it. I don't own anything that man has made. I've seen most of his movies, but I don't own anything that man has made. We'll just leave it at that. No, I didn't play Ghost Recon Future Soldier. Retro Rage Wednesday's coming back. If I can find a way to afford some kind of console that I can use to stream all this stuff. At one point before the Polymega was announced, I was going to buy one of those Retro Game Freak systems. But, the Retro Game Freak still can't play CD-based games. So I would still be limited to just a handful of things. I haven't bought any new collectibles. You really don't get the joke. No, I don't get what you're talking about. Ghost of Yellow Belly. I don't know what you're talking about. That one's a little bit too vague. Do you think Cy Cooper can be on PS5? I would at this point I would rather see a reboot than I would like a remaster, because they already remastered the original trilogy on PS3. Does Eighth like Xenoblade Chronicles? Uh, he liked the second one all right. We don't have the remaster on Switch. We do have the original on the Wii, but he liked the sequel on Switch. Okay. So long story short, I know this isn't going to end up being a 6-hour stream tonight. I know that's not going to happen, but until this gets to $200 where I can afford to go and buy one of those systems, that's what all of it's going to go to, is buying me some kind of a little retro console that I can do all my streaming and game capture of retro games. Preferably one powerful enough to handle, PS1 and Saturn. I don't care if I can get one powerful enough to handle anything higher than that. Like, Dreamcast and up, I don't care. But I'd like to have one at least powerful enough to handle PS1 and Saturn games. And those tend to run somewhere in the $150 to $200 range. So we're just going to say $200. When this gets to $200, then, I will immediately go and buy the best one that I can get for that amount of money. So 180 to go. What's so bad about the director of Jeepers Creepers? He's a convicted pedophile. Seventh, is there a film or films you watch every year because they're so damn good, like Shawshank? I watch Shawshank once a year. I watch The Green Mile once a year. I watch the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogy once a year. I watch the original Spider-Man trilogy once a year. Watch the original 6 Star Wars films once a year. There's several Christmas movies that I watch once a year. So, yeah. Do you think the mobster Frank Matthews is still alive? Don't know who that is. Has Eighth ever been employed? He worked for Walmart for about 3 months, earned all of the money to buy the computer equipment he wanted at the time, and then he quit to focus on his schooling. Does Eighth like Dragon Quest? He liked Dragon Quest 11 okay, but I wouldn't call him a series fan. I used to watch Shawshank every day. I used to watch it probably once a month back when it was so popular on TNT. You watch Attack of the Clones once a year. Yeah, I back to back. I watch all 6 back to back, starting at 1, going all the way to 6, once a year. Oh, and the Back to the Future trilogy. I watch the Back to the Future trilogy once a year. And the Dark Knight trilogy. I watch the Dark Knight trilogy about once a year. One thing I don't do that with, though, are the Marvel films. Don't get me wrong, I like the Marvel films. I like the MCU. But the thing with the Marvel films is, like, once you've seen it, you've kind of seen it. Most of them don't lend themselves very well to repeat viewings. The first Iron Man, the first Captain America movie, and the 3 Avengers movies, and that's about it. The rest of them I see it once and I don't need to watch it again. And Doctor Strange. I really like Doctor Strange. Ghost of Yellow Belly is making fun of Ghost of Tsushima. Why? What's the Yellow Belly reference? Just because it has the words ghost of in it? If that was the extent of the joke, it's not a very good joke. Or is that some kind of a Asian racist thing? Because it has the word yellow in it. Is that where you were going with it? Because, even again, not a very good joke. 7th, do you like Peter Capaldi? He's a British actor, played the 12th Doctor. I'm not familiar with him. I never went back to the Marvel movies. What's a game you like that people hate and a game you hate that people love? That's a question that's been asked to me probably 50 times since I started the 7thCast. And it's never been one that's been easy for me to answer because I don't really know. Most of the games I hate are games that everybody hates, like irritating stick. And, I have a hard time thinking of a game that I think is awesome that everybody hates. I liked the Arkham games, yes. Winter Soldier's okay, but I like the first one the best out of the Captain America movies because it feels like its own self-contained superhero film instead of just a 2-hour episode of a really long TV show, which is how most of the Marvel movies feel to me. They don't feel self-contained. They just feel like another episode of this super long show that I've been watching. Plus, the original Captain America was directed by the guy that did The Rocketeer, so it has this kind of Rocketeer vibe to it. I don't know who Drew Games is. Do I own Ninja Bread? No. Well, not everybody hates Fester's Quest. I've met several people in the retro community that enjoy it. I think most of the people that I've met who hate Fester's Quest are people that didn't play it till they were an adult. I played it when I played it. I was maybe 14, and it was new. And to me, it was just Fester's Quest was just Blaster Master, but without the vehicle parts. Batman Arkham Knight does have too much Batmobile. That's why I've never finished it. Are you looking forward to the Spider-Man 3 movie? Yes. Which was better, Dark Knight Trilogy or Arkham Trilogy? Dark Knight Trilogy. Have you ever played Bully? When it first came out, I played it for about an hour, got bored out of my mind, and never went back to it. The concept of it didn't interest me. What are your thoughts on Artemis Fowl? I read a couple of the books once when Eighth was younger, but I don't have any strong attachment to them. And so I would imagine that the Disney movie didn't offend me as much as it did avid fans of the series. That being said, that wasn't a great movie to me, but it just felt like your typical kids action adventure movie to me. Which was the better superhero film, Spider-Man 2 or Dark Knight? Spider-Man 2, because Dark Knight I don't really feel is a superhero film. The Dark Knight trilogy is more like a crime movie series that just happens to have a vigilante in it that dresses as a bat. Have you ever gone hunting? My dad always tried to get me interested in hunting, and I just didn't have an interest in it. Been to the shooting range plenty, but as far as like hunting deer or whatever, no. How bad was Dreamcast Online? I didn't really have any problems with it. That being said, there was only one game that I ever played online on Dreamcast, and that was Phantasy Star Online, and I never had any issues with it. You'd go in the lobby, hook up with some people, you'd beam down to the planet, run around and kill a bunch of stuff, come back, buy stuff. I mean, it worked. It sucked that it didn't have voice chat, and that, if you wanted to talk to anybody, you had to do it through text with the keyboard, but other than that, it was fine. Do you realize you could do a pretty mean Santa Claus? I probably could. Hi, Boston. Do you like fishing? I don't personally like fishing. I went fishing a lot when I was a kid and a teenager because it was something my dad liked to do, and if I didn't do that with Dad, then the only other activity would be like working in his ammunition reloading uh, assembly line down in the basement, or sitting and watching football with him. You know, there weren't a whole lot of activities we had in common because he wasn't into gaming and he wasn't into the kind of movies I liked. He liked John Wayne and stuff like that. And so, whereas fishing wasn't something that I enjoyed doing per se, we'd go out there and I'd stick a minnow on my hook and toss it out there and not care if I got a bite or not. I just sit and talk with my dad and hang out with him. No, Eighth is not into hunting. Do you remember the scene from Spider-Man 2 when he mentions Doctor Strange? That's where he's like, oh, but it's taken. It's taken. The only bad thing about online back then was the minute rates for the dial-up. I didn't have to. It didn't cost me anything extra to be on. I had to pay for. You had to pay for Sega Net, but it wasn't that expensive. It was like, I think, $10 a month or something like that. Favorite modern Wolfenstein title? The first one of the newest series. What's your opinion on this virus stuff and political situation? I don't talk about politics on my stream. Let's see here. Clint Eastwood made some good westerns. The Unforgiven is astounding. That's an astounding film. Seen it a million times. I saw it in the theater when it was new. Great film. Although its biggest weakness is the actor who played the kid, the Schofield kid or whatever. His acting was pretty atrocious. Everything else in it was astounding. When COVID ends, what do you think the country world will learn from it? Don't trust China. And don't trust politicians on either side. None of them are any good. Not a one. We haven't had honest, upstanding politicians in this country in a very, very, very long time. David Spade's worst movie. Oh, I don't know. I couldn't really say. I'd probably one of the sequel to Joe Dirt. And even Joe Dirt wasn't all that great. Have I gotten any new action figures? Not since the last ones I showed you. Not since the last ones. 7th, what's so special about Halo? I always felt the game was overrated. What made Halo special was that it was one of the first games that really came close to bringing the full multiplayer first-person shooter experience from PC to console. It's not the first multiplayer shooter on console. Obviously, the Dreamcast had them as well. But it was the first to have the real, obviously with a controller, but the real feel and experience of playing a big multiplayer first-person competitive shooter on a console. That's really the only thing that sets it apart. That and its storyline. It's not like you have this incredibly deep and original protagonist in Master Chief because it's a guy in a suit. Big, strong, genetically engineered clone soldier in a suit. That's Master Chief. It has a good mythology. It has good storytelling for the most part, but it was really just what it presented in a console experience at the time that it came out. There was nothing else like it on consoles at the time. You had Quake and you had Unreal Tournament on Dreamcast, but it wasn't the same. Wasn't the same. I will never be a politician. Seventh, do you think The Princess Bride is a good movie? Yes. Thoughts on the proposed law that would put Twitch streamers in jail for stealing copyrighted content? I think it's hogwash. You know, a fine, sure, but prison time, no. The 2000 How the Grinch Stole Christmas really sucked. There are moments of it that I like, and it's mostly because of Jim Carrey than anything else in the film. That being said, it's one of the movies that I watch every Christmas, but when I tried to watch it this year, I fell asleep 45 minutes into it. I think modern Halo is overrated. When it first came out, it wasn't overrated because it was something new. No, I would not like to see a crossover with Halo and Star Wars. I miss the days when Dreamcasts were cheap at yard sales. Do the emulators work good with Dreamcast? Yeah, there's some really good PC emulators out there for Dreamcast. Why do you think we haven't gotten another Prince of Persia game? I played Jedi Fallen Order and noticed a lot of the Prince of Persia mechanics. Because the last Prince of Persia game that they made that was original didn't go over very well. Maybe it had something to do with the fact that it came out so close to the movie and people assumed it was a game based on the movie, so they didn't buy it. And then right around that time was when Assassin's Creed took off, and they're like, why should we take the risk on making another Prince of Persia game when most of Prince of Persia mechanics are in Assassin's Creed and we're selling millions of copies of it every year? Seventh, do you like the first Star Wars Battlefront? I mean, as a multiplayer game, it was all right, but remember that I haven't been in the multiplayer for years. I don't care whether being president is a good job or not. It's not one that I'd ever try to have. Is Call of Duty overrated? Absolutely. Would you recommend Dragons of Dragoon? I don't know what that is. I know what Panzer Dragoon is. I know what Legends of Dragoon is. Jim Carrey brought the character to life. He did the character justice. I mean, he did put a little bit too much of himself in it, I think, but it wouldn't have been as good a movie had he not done that. Like one thing that annoys me about his performance is his laugh when that gets on my nerves. No, I was never into Yu-Gi-Oh. Why can't we get a good Superman game? Oh, it's a hard thing to do to make a game about a character that's invincible. What are you going to do? Just have constant enemies throwing kryptonite at you? Then it just becomes another action game. It's hard to find a good balance with that character. I mean, the Superman side-scrolling beat-em-up was okay, but at the same time, Superman is taking damage from regular enemies. He has a life bar. So it doesn't make any sense. So you either have to seriously gimp Superman somehow, or you have to make a game that tries to find something other than difficulty to make it fun. I think that's partly why so much of Superman 64 was just flying through hoops. I can't figure out why Microsoft can't come out with some good exclusives, because they didn't invest in it. They didn't invest in it in the right way for the last generation. Hopefully all these studios that they've bought will turn them around, but it's yet to be seen. Hi, Chris. Rumor that season 2 of Witcher teaser coming soon. Did you like the old Superman cartoons? Like what? Like the Fleischer ones from the 40s or whenever? I used to have all of them on a DVD. Eighth loved them when he was little. I had this DVD. I bought it for $1 at Walmart, and it had all those old Fleischer Superman cartoons on them. He loved them. Anyway, hold your ears. We have 2 hours remaining. We've had one $2 donation. We are $48 away from the 10 o'clock goal. How's 8th doing? Got the Christmas tree up. Yes, the tree is up and decorated. Did you like Phantom Requiem for the Phantom? I don't know what you're talking about. I heard about Cyberpunk 2077 that it doesn't work. Well, it works fine on PS5. Do you think Review Tech USA is trying too hard to make videos? Well, I mean, the last several weeks he's put out at least one video about console scalpers a week. And the reason he's doing this is because those videos are getting good views. And so he's milking that topic. There is really nothing new to say about the scalpers. It's why I've never gotten into the whole news for views whoring thing. I could do that same crap easily. But it doesn't interest me, and it just makes me look, if I was to do that, it would just make me look like a fake who was just trying to make money off YouTube. Not saying that Rich is a fake. I've talked with Rich. He's a good guy. But I couldn't do that for content. Because there's nothing creative about it. There's nothing original about it. And I mean, Rich has funny stuff in his videos, but that ain't coming from him. That's coming from his editor. The guy that edits JKB. That guy's a talented dude. And he's the one that makes Rich's videos funny. It's not coming from Rich, so it's not like he's really flexing his creative muscles, putting out the same news videos every week after week after week. And it's the same thing with all the guys that do that. Did you ever watch Lewis and Clark? No. I read about Lewis and Clark in history. Do you like Black Lagoon? Yeah, it's pretty good anime. Seventh, the supposed Spidey rumors are true. Do you think Alfred Molina should be the leader of the Sinister Six? That would be interesting. My vote for Game of the Year was Ghost of Tsushima. Last of Us 2, I've already talked about this. Master Million should not have won. Next Gen 720 said he had COVID-19. Well, okay. Toke64 in the house. What up, 7th? How's it going, Tokes? I've been seeing your Spirit Box videos. I used to do a weekly news show that was called the 7th Update, but it was done more like Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live. All my news stories were jokes. But, I mean, there were real news stories, but I turned them into jokes. But nobody watched the stuff, so I stopped doing it. I've heard scalpers say if you hate on scalpers, you hate capitalism. Do you agree? No. I do not agree. It's not supporting capitalism to go to every store in town, buy all the milk that all those stores have, and then open the milk store and sell all the milk for twice what it would cost someone else to have gone and bought that milk at the Walmart. You know, that's not an example of capitalism. Want to be gamer? Those kind of questions are going to be blocked by the YouTube chat, so don't bother wasting your time with them. 7th, are you a fan of the Evil Dead series? Yes. Have you ever been on TV? Multiple times. Do you think they'll bring back cops? Probably at some point when people forget about all this. I already know about the Evil Dead game. Already discussed it earlier in the chat. 360 versus PS3 was the best. Oh, I have news on that. I might have mentioned this last week, but on the 7thCast, but General MLD has reemerged on Twitter. I've been talking to him on Twitter on and off for the last several days, and he has expressed an interest in relaunching his YouTube channel. Yep. So, if he does come back, expect a return of debates between me and him, and back and forth videos between me and him. I don't care if no one else on the Crumb side pays attention to him at this point, but I will certainly be doing counter videos if he says something that deserves a counter. Just letting y'all know ahead of time. If you don't believe me, here's his Twitter account. Go see for yourself. He is back. How cool would it be if you got the opportunity to book a theater and do a live 7thCast with your viewer? I don't think that would ever happen. If I got popular enough on YouTube, as far as like subscriber count and views, that I was, once all this COVID stuff is over, that I was invited as a guest at the Retropalooza game conventions, as opposed to just a VIP that comes and helps out. So I had my own panel. I would consider doing the 7thCast live in that panel. And, you know, anyone who was a fan could, you know, come out to Retropalooza and sit in on the panel. That's the closest to booking a movie theater and doing the 7thCast live as you would ever get. But I'm not popular enough to be a panelist at Retropalooza. I would hold a panel and pretty much no one would show up because nobody would know who I was. So I'd be sitting there talking in an empty panel. Just is what it is. From Tokes, I don't have a PS5. I'm done with console wars. I'll just say what games I think suck. Now, I'll debate about that with facts. If E3 wanted you to host the event, would you? No, it's a stupid question because nobody would. Again, I'm a nobody, so why would E3 ever ask me to host? Plus, you know, E3 doesn't really have a host anymore. They have different conferences, and each conference has its own host. Do the CS Awards have a set date yet? Not that I know of. Bond hasn't said anything about it, so I don't know. Maybe it ain't happening this year. I don't know. He said it was going to happen, but he hasn't talked to me about it lately. Sloppy Joes, I'll make them extra sloppy for you. Lady, you're scaring us. Why does everyone attack Wings of Redemption? I don't know. I don't watch him, but based on what others have said about him, he usually tends to deserve it. You're not a nobody. Baron was on the Game Awards before. Yeah, because of a video he made. Now he's on AEW, and I'm still sitting here. You're a gaming legend, 7th Facts. I appreciate that, Tokes. Coming from someone who once threatened to murder me and then became my friend, that means a lot to me. No bullshit. How's your cousin, by the way? Is he still sharpening his bread knife? Why is it called the Corporate Slave Awards? Because Black Bond considers anyone who reps for only one company, like Sony fan or a Microsoft fan, that they are an unpaid promoter for that company. Hence, they are a corporate slave. That's where it comes from. Was the Weapon Wheel podcast any good? Well, I watch it every now and again. I was on it once. I'm gonna cut you from your nose down to your toes and back up to your mother effing asshole, bitch. I'm sorry, Tokes, but that was comedy when your cousin stepped up to the camera to say his bit, and he barely came up to where you could see him on the camera. It's like all you saw was this and this knife. So I'm gonna kill you, 7th. I'm sorry. I still laugh when I think about that. It just gets me, Tokes, and it's no offense to you, man. It just that's one of the reasons why that video was so popular. It had nothing to do with me. It had to do with you and your cousin. That video is legendary. It will never die. Every time it gets taken off of YouTube, somebody else re-uploads it. That video will never go away. My cousin done messed up, 7th. He let his baby mama get him kicked out of his own place. Now he lives with her family. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. For what it's worth, tell him I feel for him. Then you'll tell him that's from 7th, and he'll be like, who cares what 7th thinks? I'm going to kill him with my knife. I love Billy Madison. Hi, R.W. Lemon. Your comments are still being blocked. 7th, let's talk about Christmas movies. Do you like Elf with Will Ferrell? I watch it every year. Those were the days you buried me and I had to dig out of the grave and come back. I didn't bury you that bad. And what I did do, Tokes, you and I both know was wrong. I went and searched your username and pulled up a bunch of embarrassing shit and told everybody about it. That's some shady ass shit. I shouldn't have done that. And you're the only person that I ever did that with on the internet, and I felt bad about it ever since. And no, I ain't telling any of y'all what it was that I threw up, because then I'd just be doing the same shit all over again. But I pulled up some personal stuff. Not his real name or anything like that, but I pulled up some personal stuff, some stuff that he had membership to on the internet, and I shouldn't have done that. That was really low of me. It was beneath me. Normally I wouldn't do that kind of thing, because I could just, tear somebody apart just on what was in the content of their video. But for whatever reason, that one time, I went the extra mile with Tokes, and I shouldn't have done that. And I'll be apologizing for that till I go to the grave, because even though Tokes has accepted my apology for it, I've never felt right about it. That was so beneath me. I shouldn't ever have to do that. I should be able to make somebody feel that tall just by making fun of whatever they did in their video. I shouldn't have to go to extracurricular sources. And I did for some reason. And to this day, I couldn't tell you why. I didn't do that to anybody else. Well, except for Hump Master Flex. I did something similar with Hump Master Flex. But I didn't feel guilty about it with Hump Master. I didn't feel guilty about it with Hump. Do you think we've seen the last of Blackie Lebowski? He's probably still around. He's just using a screen name that nobody's familiar with. 7th, my sister loves A Christmas Story and says it's her favorite movie of all time. Would you say it deserves that praise, or do you think another movie could outweigh it? It's not the best Christmas movie, but, I consider it a classic, and I understand why other people consider it a classic. That being said, no, it's not like some kind of a movie masterpiece or anything. Using an old iPad mini. I don't know why all your comments get blocked. I have no idea. I don't have you on a timeout or anything like that. I don't have you hidden, so I don't know. I don't have an answer for you there. Remember when Gamer Nate threatened to slit Dave's throat? Not really, because I've never really followed Gamer Nate that closely. It's all good. 95% of the YouTube gamers we all talked to and got cool. I don't hold no grudge. I was dumb for thinking YouTube was real and getting too serious. It did get personal because of pics. Let me tell you something, Tokes. I don't know if you know this or not, but Black Bond thought it was real too when he first showed up on YouTube, and I had to go to him behind the scenes and tell him, look, man, we're basically just trolling and cutting YouTube pro wrestling promos. None of us really hate each other in real life. We're trying to win debates, but none of us are in an actual war. This is just trolling each other for fun. I had to clue him in on that, and then he got it. But when he first found everybody, he legit thought that the console war was this community was this diehard serious thing, when a bunch of us were talking with each other behind the scenes all the time. I talked to MLD all the time. I talked to X and Bot. I even talked behind the scenes with Pervy Sage, the guy that was making the weird perverted cartoons that had, always talked about squirting stuff in people's butt cracks and making mustard or some shit. I even talked to him on a regular basis. It just is what it is. Yeah, Kathy, that comment's not going to get shown. Sorry. It's still on YouTube. It's called Gamer Nate's Epic Meltdown. I want the PS5 to sell out, then I'll get the second made PS5 batch. I've got one, and 8th has one, and neither of us have had any problems with them. 8th had a loud fan at first, and then he opened it up and found that the little support brace that holds the fan down to the chassis wasn't screwed in all the way. So he just screwed in all the screws, and he hasn't had that noise since. No, I don't think Sega will return to the console market, except for the Genesis Mini and stuff like that. There might be a Dreamcast Mini in the future. Have you seen the Fat Man movie with Mel Gibson? No. When I don't have to pay to watch it, then I'll see it. It's on Amazon Prime, but you have to either buy it or rent it, and I don't want to do that. Especially since I've bought up all this Christmas stuff for 8th, and so until I get paid, I currently have like $140 in my account. So I'm having to wait for my next big check to come in. And even then, my fund money that's left over is going to go towards paying for what's left of what he wants for Christmas and his birthday next month. And so I still won't have the money to buy that little retro console that I need for getting back into streaming. Like I said, I need about $200, and we've had $2 in donations. So, you know what's crazy? Billy from the Game Chasers. I was watching Billy stream last night because he was their video camera that they use to make Game Chaser videos is going bad, and he needs a new camera. And he had one. I've never seen this, at least not on my channel. I've seen some big channels do this, but I'm not saying the Game Chasers aren't big. They're way bigger than me, but they're 100,000 plus subs. He had one guy, I want to say his name was Bubba88 or something like that, that donated like $300 or $400 in one stream. And I'm thinking, what does he do for a living that he can donate $400 to a stream like that? I was shocked. I was like, whoa. I mean, I've made $400 in a stream once, but it wasn't from one guy. It was from like 3 guys competing with each other, trying to be the person that donated the most that night. I certainly wasn't encouraging it. I just kind of sat there with my mouth open watching it, not knowing what to say. Have thoughts on Sleeping Dogs? It's a pretty good game. You know, I don't consider it mind-blowing or anything. I miss the Trey Brotherhood versus Xbox Republic, greatest feud in YouTube history. It's the YouTube version of NWO versus WCW. Yeah, I can see that. It was a lot of fun. YouTube's not really fun like that anymore. Toke64. That's how it all started when I told Rev F you in the comments. Yep. Here's another funny thing about all that, Tokes, is like a lot of the PlayStation guys are still around. You know, I'm still around. El Presidor's still around, but he doesn't do video game stuff anymore. Solid Rev is still around. Even Dumar still posts every now and again, but pretty much all of the original Xbox guys are gone. You know, General MLD says he's thinking about coming back, but the rest of them, like X and Bot and all those guys, gone. Gone. It's like they lost, MLD quit, and they shut down their forum and skedaddled, and they never came back. Do you think Lebowski was legit mentally ill or just a troll? I believe he's legit mentally ill. Honestly, I'm honored for the guy 7th, the Trey Brotherhood, for even extending membership to me. I just wanted to do my own thing. I was not, I'm not saying that, you know, you couldn't be in, it couldn't have been in it, but I wasn't part of that. And to be honest with you, when I got involved in it, there was no extending an offer of membership because it wasn't a real club per se. If you wanted to be a part of the Trey Brotherhood, you just put the Trey Brotherhood in your description and started making pro Sony videos. You know, and when I got into it, there was no official, we are offering you membership into our elite group. You just joined it. You know, no one invited me because I came out of nowhere. Prior to me making that first video directly attacking MLD, I hadn't posted any videos. That was my first video, was countering General MLD, and then I posted it as a comment in Solid Rev's video and in El Presidor's video, so they'd know I was there. And El Presidor, back when you could still do this, hosted my video on his main YouTube page. And then I went from having no subscribers to over 1,000 subscribers, like literally overnight. It's like I went to bed, I had like 5 subscribers. I woke up the next day, I had 1,200 subscribers. It was just overnight like that. And that's how I got my start. I didn't start making Sony videos and El Presidor come and say, here's your membership guidebook and here's your patch that you can sew in on your jacket. Here's your secret membership ring. Here's the keys to the clubhouse. None of that. I just saw this Trey Brotherhood stuff and I added it to my profile and I started uploading Sony videos. So I don't know who it was that reached out to you. I just know that they must have thought something special of you, because normally reaching out and asking someone to join was not something that happened. You just joined. So if someone in the group said, we need this guy making videos with us, that says something. Fourth X Prodigy. Sup, bro? Fourth plus seventh equals 10th. Lol. Okay. No, I don't think Kirsten Dunst was a good Mary Jane. I think she's horse-faced. The Trey Brotherhood turned me down from an Xbox owner to play school, and I got to experience Uncharted God of War. I think you meant PlayStation there. I shook my head yesterday when I saw Last of Us 2 won Game of the Year. I bet anything Last of Us Part 3 is going to sell really poorly. We'll see. Remember when Mooch lost his job because of YouTube? Yeah, he got doxxed pretty hard, as I recall. Yo, Seventh, what's your thoughts on Ahsoka Tano new Disney series? I never was a big fan of the character because I never got into the Clone Wars show. I didn't like the animation style, so I never got into it. What made J-Tech worse than Trey? Because 9 times out of 10, Trey might put a pro Nintendo spin on something, but he at least had his factual knowledge, his factual data correct. J-Tech would just straight up make up stuff. I was catching him doing it constantly. Trey would spin something to possibly mean something other than what was intended, but he at least had the factual data right. You could go to his links and see where he was quoting the stuff from. J-Tech would post a video making some grandiose statement with a link, and you went to the link, and the link had nothing to do with what he was talking about because he just made crap up. Still does. That's what Rev asked me. Do I want to be a part of it? I said, thanks, but I'm good. I'm going to do my own thing before I made my fake console. Rev's a good dude. Rev's a good dude. He's a lot more calmer than he used to be. He has mellowed out a lot as he's approached his middle age. Would you agree that Demon Souls wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Vagrant Story? I don't know about Vagrant Story. Demon Souls wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Kingsfield. Remember that Xbox fan that had to go to court because of YouTube? Yeah, I don't remember his name. Some guy like in South America, I think. I already know about Perfect Dark coming back. I talked about that at the beginning of the show. Clone Wars was pretty good. Movie was terrible. First Cartoon Network series was the same, but the post-movie series is great, exploring different dimensions. I just never could get into it. Just never could get into it. Xbox and PlayStation should just fuse and make one console. Yeah, one console would be so great for the market. Yeah. Xbox Milgram. Adam Sandler is overrated just like Jack Black. I like Adam Sandler better than Jack Black, but at least Jack Black makes up for it with Tenacious D. I love Tenacious D. What does Christmas mean to you personally? It celebrates the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ. And what is its purpose? To celebrate the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ. What are your thoughts on the Dishonored games? I haven't played either one of them. I have them both, and I haven't played them. 16-bit Pete. What's up, 7th and 8th? How's it going, Pete? I haven't talked to you in a while. Pete was there at Retropalooza the time that I accidentally got stoned and lost an hour of my night because I blacked out in the men's room. I wasn't expecting I wasn't expecting what I got. You know, I took a hit off of somebody else's vape, and it had some wicked strength stuff in it, and you know, all of a sudden I was like being able to read the fine print of a poster that was all the way on the other side of the convention center, and I'm like, there's something not right here. And Pete went walking by, and he saw that I was having an experience, and he was like, 7th, get up, let's go get you some water. And so we went walking down to the I've told this story before. We went walking down to the Coke machines, and I was having trouble seeing well enough to get my dollar bill into the dollar bill slot to buy a thing of water, and I had to ask Pete to help me get the dollar bill in the machine. And I got a bottle of water, and we went walking back towards the convention hall, and I told Pete, I'm gonna go to the bathroom for a minute, and I'll meet you in there. And I went in the bathroom, and I sat down on the toilet without taking my pants off. I just wanted to sit down quietly in a private space. So I went into a stall, closed the door, sat down, and I took a swig of water, and I blinked. And then I looked at my watch, and an hour had gone by. I hadn't passed out or nothing. You know, I was still sitting upright with the bottle of water in my hand. But I had looked at my watch, and an hour had gone by. And I went walking in there, and they were like, hey, where have you been? I was like, I'm not sure. Pete can tell you that I'm telling the absolute truth. Am I not, Pete? This happened to me. Yeah, I was like, 8th, where's your dad? Yeah. No one knew where I was. And I sat down on that toilet, and I lost an hour of time. I have no idea. That is 100% legit true. I'm not going to say who it was that gave me the hit of stuff in that vape. All I will say is that I asked them what it was, and they told me it was zebra cakes. That's all I'm going to say. Oh, wow. And I was still feeling the effects of it even when I came back to the floor. And I was so wasted from it, I didn't want 8th to be worried, and I didn't want Jay from the Game Chasers to know that I was like blitzed and not really doing anything to help. And so every time Jay walked by, I was just looking down at one of the TVs for the competition area, and I'd pick up some wires and look like I was wiring something up, because that's literally the only thing I could do. I couldn't even actually plug wires in because I'd go to do so, and I couldn't get my hand to line up right to plug the cable in. That's how blitzed I got off of whatever the hell was in there. And I mean, I know it was just, I know it was just weed vape, but the percentage must have been through the roof, because I have imbibed in the herb before and never got hit as hard as that hit me. Like, my heart rate shot through the roof where I could hear the blood pumping to my brain in my ear. If you take your fingers and slap your ear like this, that's what I was hearing for hours. And my heart was just pump, 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 pump. That's usually, if I have imbibed in the herb, I have the opposite effect. I get kind of relaxed and mellow. Everything feels good, Some things strike me funny. That's not what this did. That's not what this did at all. It was almost like they had weed and speed mixed into a vape juice. It was... Ooh. I shouldn't have done it. Never trust another man's mod. Yeah, I know it's legal in Oregon. Why did I bring the 7thCast back to YouTube? Because everybody asked me to. Everyone was complaining about me being on Twitch. And on Twitch, a bunch of you didn't follow me from YouTube over to Twitch when I announced it. And so my audience was cut in half. More than half. I was lucky to get 20 people watching, if that. Sometimes there was only 14 people in there. And eventually I just had enough. That wasn't just herb. That's what I suspect. And that's why I'm never trusting another man's vape ever again. 7th, do you have any memories of any huge Christmas stores? Remember that scene in Home Alone 2 with the big Christmas store? No, I don't. Most of my childhood Christmas memories are of a department store that doesn't exist anymore, and even when it did, it was very regional. So depending on where you lived and how old you are, you wouldn't have even heard of it. And it's called the Hills Department Store. Hills. Hills. Walmart pretty much put them out of business. And they had a layaway there, which back then was actually kind of a novelty. It's like not everyone had layaway back then. And they had, I mean, not Toys R Us big, but for a department store, they had a large toy section and a large video game section. And so they had better prices than Lionel Play World. Toys R Us wasn't in my area when I was a kid, not until I was a teenager. And so instead of taking me to Lionel Play World to shop for Christmas gifts, Lionel Play World was usually a special event thing. Like if I'd gotten a really good grade or it was my birthday or something like that. Otherwise, my parents would take me to Hills to shop for toys. And they would just walk me through the aisles and I would just point to all the things that I wanted. And sometimes I would take the Sears catalog and I'd circle the things I wanted if for some reason we couldn't make it to Hills. But I remember, they had these Christmas commercials every year where they had this little dwarf guy, a little person, dressed up as a Christmas elf. And he would show off in the commercial all these new toys that they had. And you could go to Hills Department Store, and they had these little coloring book sheets of that elf. And they would give them to the kids. And towards the end of towards Christmas, they would hang all of these pictures that the kids had drawn or colored on the wall, and everyone would vote on which one was the best, and whoever won the best one got like a Christmas toy shopping spree or whatever. And I can remember to this day the commercials because he was this little guy dressed as a dwarf. And he's, we're bringing joy to your Christmas day, and that's why at Hills we always say, and then you'd have this, Hills is where the toys are. So you can go on YouTube and look up Hills is where the toys are, and you'll find these commercials that I'm talking about. Anyway, that's my big Christmas shopping memory. Let's see here. Damn, 7th, you vapes a dab. It's about 80% THC. You basically took a shot of weed versus having a beer of weed. Let's see here. Did you know the Debo actor? Tommy Lister. Yes, I knew Tommy Lister passed away. Do you like the new Modern Warfare and Black? No, I don't like the old ones either. 7th, are you talking about Hill House? No, Hills. Hills Department. I've talked about Hills all the time. Hills was a store where I went there for my birthday after the video game market crash in 1983. And they had bargain bins at the front of the store full of brand new Atari 2600 carts in box for $0.25 a piece. And I went in there with like $25 and then of course my parents paid for the tax. I basically walked out with 100 brand new Atari carts for $25. 20 or $25. I can't remember how much it was, but It was a very small amount, and I walked out with 100 brand new games for my 2600. Any video discs in your? No, I don't have any video discs, and I don't have any laser discs. Do you like Robot Wars? I liked it when the guy that plays Lister in Red Dwarf was hosting it. That's about it. What are the chances that Square Enix's Project Athea will probably be renamed Final Fantasy VIII? I don't think it's going to be named Final Fantasy 18 or 17. I can't read it. Final Fantasy 17. I don't know. We'll see. I pre-ordered the soundtrack of Ghost of Tsushima. I pre-ordered it for 8th for Christmas on LP. Because I got him a record player, and so now he's really big on collecting records. So that's one of the ones I pre-ordered. Don't tell him. 7th, you want to know what kind of modern talk slang is weird? Bet. I haven't seen the one on the end, but I've seen bet. People saying bet at me on Twitter, and I had no idea what they were talking about. I'm like, bet what? Bet money? I don't gamble. What are you talking about? Do I remember the truth? Of course I remember the truth setting you free. I think the show Red Dwarf sucks. Well, you know what? I think you suck. Have you played PS4 games on your PS5 that play better, correct? Not all of them. If they were locked at 30 frames per second on the PS4, they'll be locked on the PS5 without a patch. So, for example, I popped Dragon Age Inquisition in the PS5, still has a crappy frame rate because it hasn't been patched and it didn't have an unlocked frame rate on the original console. How do I feel about a new Castlevania game? I'd like to see a new Castlevania game. However, Konami's not really doing crap with the license right now, so the closest you can get to a new Castlevania game would be like the Bloodstained games that have been coming out recently. If you haven't checked out, if you're a fan of the original NES Castlevanias or Symphony of the Night on PS1 Tokes, you need to check out the Bloodstained games. There's like 3 of them now. 2 of them have an 8-bit style, and the other one is pretty much almost exactly like playing Symphony of the Night. Bet means okay or cool. I thought that was word. So bet is the new word? I'm confused. I'm just too white for this new slang, man. I'm not down with it like your brothers are. I can't keep up with it. I can't keep up with it. I'm too white and uncool to keep up with all this new slang. I'm just, I'm too pasty for it, man. I'm too pasty for it. 8th likes to collect vinyl now. Yes. Yes. In fact, that's what most of his Christmas is. He gave me this big, long list of records that he wanted for Christmas, and I've got most of them in that closet right now. Both straight up music albums and video game and movie soundtrack albums. Yeah. I've bought him something like 20 records so far and a crate to keep them all in. And I didn't go and buy him a new record player. I bought him a vintage record player from the 90s. It's the record player that went with my 1995 Technics rack system. And so I went and looked up what's the original model that was compatible with my particular Technics rack system. I found it on eBay and I bought it for him, made sure that it worked like new, and he's been loving it. Do you like vinyl better than CD? There are some differences. Vinyl just sounds fuller. I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like the difference between listening to an MP3 that's a low bit rate and an MP3 that's like a higher, fuller bit rate. It's almost like that. The bass is deeper. The bass is richer. It's hard to describe. It's hard to describe. But for people that grew up listening to records, tapes, and CDs, you can tell a difference. I think God of War will be holiday 2021. I think we could get it sooner than that. Maybe. I would like to recommend a game to you in 8th, Salt and Sanctuary. 8th already has Salt and Sanctuary. In fact, he's already beat Salt and Sanctuary. Do you PC game? And are you planning on building a gaming PC? What I have is a gaming PC, but it's an old gaming PC. This is an i7 4790 with 16 gigs of RAM running on two 970s and SLI. I had intended to upgrade this year and buy me a new machine or build me a new machine, and it just didn't work out because of everything that's gone on this year. You know, maybe I'll get to do it next year. It depends on how much I get on my bonus. You know, because my bonus could be, $6,000-$7,000, or it could be chump change. Who knows this year? Who knows, man? We'll see, though. I really need to build a new one because I don't really know how long this one will last. You know, I've had this one for years and years. It used to be 8th's first gaming PC, and but I haven't been big in PC gaming for forever, long time. I just got fed up with how much of it was becoming about online play, and I was spending so much time doing the same deathmatch crap over and over again, and I was missing getting into big, full, enriching single-player experiences, and so I got away from PC, and I just never have really been back. I talk to General G every now and again. Why did Black Bond buy a PS5? Because he wanted to play Demon Souls, I think. Do you think Halo is going to get rebooted? I don't know. No idea. What if your Christmas bonus was as bad as... I don't get a Christmas bonus. I get an annual bonus. Usually happens in like March or early April. Last year I got $2,400, I think. I didn't get as good of a bonus as I could have. But $2,400 is certainly better than nothing. I'm not. It's nothing to sneeze at. You can do a lot with $2,500 if you know how to stretch a buck. You know what would be nice though? Another stimulus check before December 25th. That would be really nice. It ain't going to happen, but it would be really nice. That's as close to politics talk as I'm getting tonight, folks. I have a 144 hertz monitor and can never go back to playing FPS on console with a controller and a 30 frames per second cap. Well, I haven't had to go back to that on the PS5 so far. What's your thoughts on Sting going to AEW? Why? He was supposed to have been permanently damaged in the neck and back by Seth Rollins. So why is he coming back? Is he just going to be a manager? Is he actually going to wrestle? What's the deal? Is he just there to sell merch? That being said, I do like the design of his new shirt. Wouldn't mind having one of those. What was the last fight you got into? High school. Had a couple of close calls as a full-blown adult, but it's never actually come to blows. That's right. He didn't buy a PS5. Kid Smooth bought it for him because Kid Smooth lost a bet. 7th, I just finished The Last Dance on Netflix. Do you agree Pippen was a selfish teammate? I don't know that he was... I don't think Pippen was selfish because he always got second fiddle to Jordan. I think Pippen did deserve to make more money than what he was making. Did he make the wrong call in the way he reacted to it? Yes. But did he deserve that money? Absolutely he deserved it. Hey, 7th, Bret Hitman Hart is the greatest, best there ever was. I can't disagree with you. He wasn't the best on the mic, though. He was great at putting on a convincing wrestling match, but he was not all that when it came to his mic skills. 7th, do you think Harrison Ford jokingly likes to hate Star Wars, or is he kind of serious about it? I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think for a while he was tired of talking about Star Wars, and then his career started to wind down where he wasn't getting good acting roles anymore. And that Star Wars money was getting waved at him, and now he's a little bit more agreeable to talking about it than he was in the past. I want a PS5, however, I have more luck getting toilet rolls. Yeah. Well, I was fortunate to get another one for 8th, and the only reason that I managed that was because my buddy Brian somehow managed to snag one off of Walmart.com for us, and then I paid him for it. I've been watching you since 2009. I didn't start till 2009. You're a legend in these gaming streets. Thank you, sir. As specifically, I believe it was July 27th, 2009. So this was like my... this past July, I celebrated my 11th year on YouTube. Yup. Better in ring, Brett or Sean? I think Brett's better, but Sean's better on the mic. Harrison has said he thinks Han Solo was his most uninteresting character to play, and that's all anyone wants to talk to him about, so I guess he gets annoyed. Yeah. They showed gameplay of Returnal. It looks interesting. Well, yeah, it's basically taking a lot of the gameplay concepts of past Housemarque games and putting it in a 3D experience. So I'm curious to see how it turns out. From RXL209, I heard Cyberpunk was a broken pile of... Can't say that in the comments or YouTube will block your comment. Not on PS5, it's not. It has some glitches, but it works just fine, 60 frames per second. 7th, they are making a AEW wrestling game. Are you interested? I'd heard they were, but I haven't seen any footage of it yet. So it all depends on how it plays, because after all, TNA had a video game too. Solid Rev or El Prezador? Well, Solid Rev is actually a gamer. He may only like certain types of games, but he is an actual gamer, and El Prezador less so. El Prezador played the part of being a diehard gamer, but he never was a diehard gamer. He was a guy who liked first-person shooters. And even then, only a couple of first-person shooters. He liked Call of Duty, and he liked Resistance. And a little bit of Killzone, but not really. TNA was trash. That was a garbage video game. Absolute garbage. Honestly, some of the best wrestling video games ever made were the ones that were on N64. And between you and me, the WCW ones, for the most part, played better than the WWF ones. At least the early WWF ones. Because the WCW ones had a better, more intuitive control scheme. I liked the lineup in the WWF games better, but WCW had better controls. Wasn't the same on PlayStation, though. On PlayStation, both the WCW and the WWF games were garbage. Absolute garbage. Seventh, do you remember Dark Watch? Oh, that was that first-person shooter that had kind of a Cowboys mixed with monsters vibe. Yeah, I remember Dark Watch. I want to say it was published by Capcom, but it wasn't made by Capcom. They were just the publisher. I believe you could actually get that one on Xbox as well, OG Xbox. I used to have it on PS2, but it was one of the games that I lost in the infamous yard sale debacle of 2004. And it's just not one that I've gotten around to rebuying. Solid Rev's PS5 was defective. He just got a Series X. If that's defective, expect his rage. Yeah, he'll find something wrong with it. Eventually. Might take him a little longer, but he'll find something wrong with it. That's just Rev's luck. Every time he buys some new electronics, it's broke. He has to buy the same console, one or two times, at least two times before he gets a winner. Every time. Cowboy Vampire, yeah. I love that game. It was the game that first got me into FPS. My first-person shooter was, of course, Wolfenstein 3D. That was the first one I ever played. And then not long after, by the time I got to play Wolfenstein, it had already been out for a while. And so it's like just a couple of weeks after I discovered Wolfenstein, Doom came out. And Doom blew my damn mind the first time I played it. I was just floored by Doom. And that's what started me veering away from consoles a little bit and getting into the multiplayer, because me and my friends, we would play. Back then, you didn't have big multiplayer Doom. You had person versus person deathmatch, and you could call one of your friends over their dial-up modem and connect to their computer and play against them over a dial-up connection in one-on-one deathmatch. And me and my friends would set up our own little tournament charts and everything, and we would do like a best of 5. And so whoever won the best of 5 would go on to the next person in the group. And we did that constantly. And then, of course, when big online multiplayer happened, I dove into that head first, and I was in it all the way up until like 2004, and then I just got fed up with it and quit. But I still bought consoles during that time, but I was splitting my gaming to like 2/3 of my gaming time went to online first-person multiplayer, and the remaining third was for console stuff. Do you think TNA will go out of business? I'm surprised TNA hasn't already gone out of business. It's kind of astounding, really. I loved Legend of Dragoon. Chrono Cross was okay. Wasn't as good as Chrono Trigger. So between those two, I liked Legend of Dragoon better. Impact is so much garbage now. Yes, it is. Of course, I never thought it was all that great to begin with, Tokes. Do you agree that a Dark Cloud 3 needs to be made? Yes, I do. I did play the first Doom, but Darkwatch blew me away. Darkwatch was interesting. It was very different from the other first-person stuff that was out at the time. I think the closest, most recent thing to what Darkwatch was as a first-person shooter would probably be the Painkiller series. It's not just a 7thCast till we hear you mention the yard sale debacle. True. Probably gets brought up at least once a 7thCast. God of War on 60 frames per second is nice on PS5. I haven't tried it yet. Why is Mortal Kombat not so good anymore? People say Mortal Kombat sucks. I think it's because Mortal Kombat is getting watered down by all these non-traditional characters that they've been throwing into it, like the Terminator and Rambo and all this stuff. I think that's the big reason why people aren't as hot on Mortal Kombat as they used to be. Especially considering how OP some of those characters are. And that way, Mortal Kombat has almost become similar to Smash Brothers with all these additional characters and stuff. Hey, 7th, the Switch is way better than the Vita. Well, it's a newer machine. It's a newer machine. But the Vita did a lot of what the Switch did first. When do you think everyone will be able to get a PS5? Probably starting in May or June. I think they're at least going to be a little hard to come by until then. Come March, I don't think it'll be as hard as it is now, but it still won't be the easiest thing in the world. What online games did you play back in the early 2000s? Well, you had Quake 3, Unreal Tournament 4, Jedi Academy. Those were the big three that I remember. Those are the ones that I was spending the most time in at the time. Do you think the Last of Us TV series will be a success? I don't know, man. Oh, yes, 7th. Did you play the sequel to Black, Body Count? No, I never got around to playing that one. I never got around to playing it. I played a demo of it, and it didn't feel like Black. And I'm like, well, this doesn't feel like Black at all. And so I never got around to buying it. Why are water levels in video games usually hated? Because they're slower paced, and some of them have the mechanic where you only have a limited amount of air and stuff like that. I think a lot of it has to do with every time someone thinks of a water level, they think of the bombs in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on NES. I think that's a lot of it. Because water levels were never a problem in Mario, and the only problem with them in Sonic was that you had a limited amount of air, so you were always having to run around trying to find an air bubble to grab or trying to find your way back to the surface as quickly as possible so you didn't drown. And then you had Echo the Dolphin, where the whole thing was a water level, and even though because you were a dolphin, you couldn't just swim around like a shark. You still had to jump to the surface for air or find air bubbles. And I don't think Echo the Dolphin would have been nearly as frustrating a game for some people as it was if you'd been a shark instead of a dolphin. Just saying. That being said, Maneater sucks. Ellen Page is now a man named Elliot. Yes. I am now a dolphin. Eek, 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 eek. I am a 7th. My pronouns are 7th, the 7th, and his royal 7thness. Were you a beast or just average? I wasn't like competition level, but I could hold my own. Do you want Resistance to make a comeback to PS5? I would like to see Resistance come back, yes. Maybe a reboot, though, not a sequel. 7th, how fat do you think Keanu's check was for Cyberpunk? It's nothing to put a B-list or C-lister in your game, but an A-lister must have cost serious cash. Maybe not. You know, maybe he just really liked the concept and liked the game and thought, hey, you know, this reminds me of my movie Johnny Mnemonic. 7th, do you remember Kid Nicky on NES? I have Kid Nicky on NES. If so, did you play it? I rented it a few times. Never finished it. It was just kind of weird. I didn't dislike it, though. In your opinion, is a better 16-bit game? I've never played In Your Opinion. I'm sure it's nice. Enemy. I'm kidding. Mortal Kombat 2 or Street Fighter 2? I liked Mortal Kombat 2 better. I'm not saying it's better than Street Fighter 2. I just enjoyed it more. With Ready Player 2 book out, hopefully the movie will be made. Well, the movie didn't do all that well in the box office, or at least not as well as they wanted it to, so who knows if that'll happen or not. Maybe it could become an exclusive movie for HBO Max. You know, made for HBO Max. If you could actually convince Spielberg to make a movie for HBO Max. 7, do you think these Disney live remakes should have been prequel-sequel stories to the original Disney adaptations they were based on? I don't see the point of them other than just Disney knows that people will go to see them for nostalgia, to take their kids to see it, hoping to be able to recreate the experience. And the only one I've really come close to liking was The Jungle Book, and even that was tempered by the fact that they had Christopher Walken playing King Louie, which made no sense to me. But that one I kind of enjoyed. The rest of them have been straight trash. I would like to see them do a live-action film of Atlantis, which they probably won't do because it bombed, and Treasure Planet, which they probably won't do because it bombed. I would like to see them reboot Condor Man. I know that ain't going to happen neither. Do you think Gears of War 6 is an eventuality? That's destined to happen. They're going to milk that series dry just like with with Uncharted. Not Uncharted. Uncharted's getting milked too. Halo. They need to make a wrestling game to where you can get the championship in use in USA, defend in all countries, and win all belts. What do you think about that? Can't you kind of sort of do that in Fire Pro Wrestling? I don't know. I know you can get, there's multiple belts in Fire Pro. I haven't played Fire Pro in years. What are your thoughts on beef jerky? I like the teriyaki beef jerky. I really like it. Star Wars shot itself in the foot with one crappy movie, and now they're putting all their money on shows. It wasn't just one crappy movie. Did you see Witch's remake yet? Nope. Did I see Boogie shoot the gun? I saw bits and pieces of that. I didn't watch the whole thing. I'm just wondering where the bullet landed. You know, eventually that bullet has to come down somewhere. You know, somewhere a few thousand yards from Boogie's house, there's possibly a three-legged dog wondering, why me? No, I didn't like Uncharted Lost Legacy. Oh, by the way, I just now noticed. One hour remaining. We've had a single $2 donation. I want my $2. Cash. Y'all don't love me no more. We're $48 away from the 10 o'clock goal. It looks like 3 hours is all you're going to get again tonight. Have I seen the Fire Force anime? Yes, I have. How does it compare to Soul Eater? I haven't seen the Soul Eater anime. I haven't watched all of Fire Force. I watched a few episodes of it. It seemed fun. Have you ever had alcoholic eggnog? Yes. I'm not a fan. Will we see Uncharted 5? Probably. Why didn't you like Lost? I just didn't like it. Oh, I didn't like the show either. But yeah, I didn't like Lost Legacy just because I don't have any investment in the characters that were in it for the most part. Gameplay was all right, I guess. But, you know, I don't care about Chloe and Nadine. You know, if it had been Chloe and Elena, maybe I might have liked it, but a little bit more. But you know, there wasn't anything to tie me to Nadine because she was just kind of a smaller side character villain in Uncharted 4. I just didn't, you know. And I really don't really care for Chloe either. She was just, you know, an ex-flame of Nate's. So I never really got strongly connected to her either. If it had been Chloe and the funny guy from Uncharted 3, the guy that had like claustrophobia or whatever it was, if it had been her and him, I would have enjoyed that because that character was funny. There's a new article saying the next God of War's gameplay is Game of the Year worthy. I'm sure it is. 7th, if you had the chance to get a different style of shades, would you? Or would you stick with the current ones you're wearing? I like this particular pair. When all of this is over and I feel safe about going to an eye doctor, with everything that's going on, I just don't think it'd be a good thing to be sitting in a small enclosed room with some guy you know, a foot away at my face saying, number 1 or number 2? When I can get these lenses replaced, I will probably just have these frames cleaned, reset, and order replacement lenses for these shades. That's probably what I will do. I really do need new lenses. These lenses are now 3 years old, and you know, I can still see perfectly fine, but I do suffer from more eye strain than I should because they're just my eyes have weakened in the last 3 years, and I need a new prescription. Boogie is R-rated Charlie Brown at this point. When will Battlefield be better than Call of Duty? I don't know, because I don't like either one, man, to be honest with you. Your reaction of me platinum, getting the plat on Maneater. Congrats, I guess. That's kind of like getting the plat in My Name is Mayo. Thanks for expanding on your answer, 7. Okay. Did you know there's a song in Final... You asked me that already. It just didn't interest me enough to answer it. Sorry, to be honest with you. I don't give a crap about Neil Young. Why do you have to wear glasses? Because I have a severe... For one thing, I'm bifocal. I'm both nearsighted and farsighted. I'm nearsighted in one eye, farsighted in the other eye. And secondly, I suffer from a severe sensitivity to bright light. I can't be without these more than at the most 15 minutes at a time, or I get such a bad migraine that I'm pretty much incapacitated. All I can do is lay there and hurt because it makes me dizzy, and if I'm up trying to walk around with it, I get nauseous and throw up, and it's just not pretty. And I didn't want to be on medication for it for the rest of my life, so this was the cheapest, fastest, easiest solution. So I've been wearing shade glasses for years now. Years and years and years. At least like 12 years. Too many nights working third shift in an IT room with the lights cut off. Staring at monitors in the dark. It screwed my eyes up, man. Screwed my eyes up bad. How would you have fixed the TurboGrafx 16? I would not have been so picky in what I imported from their library in Japan, because the PC Engine had a great library in Japan, not so great in America. What are your thoughts on the verses in the Bible that condone slavery? Well, the verses that I'm thinking you're referring to aren't so much condoning slavery, but are saying that if you do engage in slavery, here are some rules as to how those slaves should be treated. Which, at the time of the history that it took place in, slavery was a common thing, and it wasn't just, a black thing or a Jew thing or a white thing. There were multiple races that were enslaved. They didn't care so much, where you came from. They cared about how many bricks you could make in a day and how much weight you could haul. And I don't think it'd be a fair thing to say that the Bible straight up condones slavery, because they made such a big deal about breaking people out of slavery in multiple points of the narrative. But there were verses talking about how if you have slaves, here's how they should be treated. Here's what you should, the proper rules. And even then, those weren't rules that were like, being dictated by Lord or something like that. And on top of that, because of the way it was translated, there's a lot of instances in the Bible where it says slave, but what it's talking about would nowadays be referred to as an indentured server or indentured servant, which is not quite the same thing. But yeah. Why does all save data for games PS4 to PS5 kind of suck? But Xbox does that. I prefer... Your question doesn't make sense. Has there ever been a game you hated at first, but then went back to it and loved it? God of War. I hated it for 90 minutes and then loved it the rest of the way through, once some of the powers got unlocked. It's good to see you, bro. Thanks, George. Thanks for coming to watch, George. 7th, any hopes for the new Alien reboot that's going to be a series? Not really. What's it like working in the IT field? It's tedious. It's tedious. And it's not the most rewarding work. It's not the most rewarding work. Slavery was accepted in religions because everybody of them. You're not 100% right, but you're not exactly wrong neither. What's a dinner game? A good game of Dungeons and Dragons, the board game, or Magic the Gathering? I never was huge into Dungeons and Dragons, but I did play Magic the Gathering for quite a while back in the day. We're talking during the 5th edition Weatherlight era. That's when I was heavy into it. Funner, not dinner. How's Alpha Omega Sin doing? I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while. He's doing his thing, I guess. I think he just got burnt out on it. And, real life finds a way to make you not want to do this kind of thing sometimes. Do you think there will be another documentary about God of War 5? Possibly. What kind of ghostly experiences have you had? But I've talked about all those multiple times on here, man. If you ain't heard them by now. Then you haven't been listening very well. Yeah. We now have 40 minutes left of the 7th cast. 40 minutes left. If any of my vast numbers of rich followers are just waiting for the right moment to extend the 7th cast, you've got 40 minutes left to do it. Yeah, all my scores of millionaires that watch my dumbass show. Do you think J.K. Rowling is anti-LGBTQ? I have no idea, and I don't care. I don't care. I don't care how other people live their life because it doesn't pertain to mine. They can do whatever they want. They can lick, stick, whip, gobble, cornhole, whatever they want. I don't care. It doesn't affect me. Do as thou wilt, as long as it isn't pedophilia or necrophilia or any of the philias. You know. Don't engage in any of the philias. You feel me? Would you agree? Probably not. Would you agree that if it wasn't for Skyrim release window, Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning and Dragon's Dogma would have gotten a sequel by now? Probably. Probably. Do you listen to PKA podcast? Considering that I have no idea what that is, I would guess no. Aside from doing this, I've never really gotten into the whole podcast thing. You know, if one of my friends is streaming, I'll sit and watch it for a while. But as far as catching every episode of the Weapon Wheel or catching every episode of the Press Start or the Spawn Cast, no, I've never really done that. What's a better series to you, Mega Man or Castlevania? It depends on the era. During the NES era, I liked Mega Man better. During the PS1 era, I liked Castlevania better. It just kind of depends. Just kind of depends. I have just been so lazy with the facial hair. I really need to. It's in that awkward period where it's starting to poof out, and it's not, nice and well well groomed against the skin, but at the same time, it's not long enough to where it's like an epic hillbilly beard yet. I'm wondering how long I'm just going to let it go, just to see how long I can make it get. It's hard for me to grow a long beard because my beard hair, after it gets to a certain length, starts to curl instead of being straight. So I end up looking like I've got like 70s era porn bush on my face. Got Outback tonight. Great steak. Okay. Best and worst Shia LaBeouf films. That's like asking me to what was my best and worst tooth extraction. 7th, do you like Chris Hansen? Not especially. Not especially. I just don't really find any entertainment value from it. Oh, look, he caught another kitty diddler. I'm all for catching kitty diddlers, but, I don't want to sit and watch it while I'm having my evening dinner. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't really derive any entertainment value from him sitting and questioning some naked guy with a pizza in his hands who had come over with the intention of, popping the cherry of some, 10 or 12-year-old little girl. When he walks through the doors, throw the cuffs on him and throw him in the car. Thoughts on the GameCube? Had potential, didn't have enough must-have games. Did Ghost of Tsushima make you more interested in Japanese lore? I was already interested in Japanese lore. That's why I like the game so much. That's why I liked the game so much. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. The most recent Christmas present that came for 8th today was the original soundtrack to Ghostbusters on LP. And there's 2 different Ghostbuster soundtracks available on LP. There's the one that has all the songs on it, like Ghostbusters theme, Do You Believe in Magic, blah, blah, blah. And then there's the album of the actual orchestral score that has like the whole do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do, dun, 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 do-do-do-do. It has all that in it. I bought them both. So he's getting both of those for Christmas. Would you say you got a scared straight prison experience when you were a kid? Yeah, when I was about 7 years old, my dad took me down to Gen Pop and shoved me up against the bars so people could reach out and try to grab me, and then he'd pull me away just a little bit. And one of them sat down in front of me, and he looked at me and he said, "Do what your daddy tells you, kid, or one day you're going to end up in here with me." And I have not broken a single law since that day. Except for maybe, downloading an illegal copy of a movie or something like that. I have never been arrested. I have absolutely zero criminal record. You'd never find anything more serious on me than a traffic ticket. Do you like the Luigi's Mansion games? They're all right. Not my favorite series. 7th, how Naughty Dog is on the downfall when one of those games won Game of the Year. Because the game shouldn't have won Game of the Year in the first place. Remember Edge and Lita on TV with Rick? I'd lost interest in WWF by then. Do you think pedophiles are straight evil or just mentally ill? It depends. Some of them are just mentally ill, and some of them. How many God of War games do you think Corey will make? I don't know, maybe 3. Maybe 3. No, I don't like Mario Sunshine. Didn't like it. Felt like a totally different game that had a Mario skin slapped on it. New glass isn't the only thing I need. I really need to get this impacted wisdom tooth pulled. I don't feel comfortable going to a dentist right now and having somebody's fingers all up in my business. And by my business, I mean my mouth, not something else. You freaking pervs. Got Mario 3D All-Stars. Yeah, I have a copy of it. Why are people so mad that The Last of Us Part 2 won? Because it shouldn't have won. I'm not mad. I'm just saying it shouldn't have won. 7, the good news is that I've seen BBC set some of those straight in and realizing we're doing was wrong. So I think there's something. I don't think he actually convinced any of them that what they were doing was wrong. I think they were just telling him what he wanted to hear because they got caught. I think the minute all that was over with, they probably went right back to what they were doing. It's a compulsion. It's not something you just turn on and off like a light switch. It's not like you just say to yourself, you know what? Maybe I should try this. I might enjoy this. No. You have your father badge. My father's badge is somewhere. I just don't know where. The plot in God of War 5 is so predictable, but I still want to play it. Well, anytime, it's not necessarily predictable because we don't know. We know what was predicted in the pictures that we were looking at, but we don't know for sure that it's going to go that way. We don't know that for sure at all. Everyone wondered whether Kratos had survived 3 or not. Well, he survived it. Took several years for him to come back, but he survived it. Kratos, even if he does bite the big one at the end of whatever this series is going to be, that doesn't mean he won't suddenly show up in feudal Japan or Egypt or any other ancient culture that had its own gods for him to kill. It could potentially go on forever until they run out of gods for him to kill. That's where it would end. It would end with there being no gods left for him to kill. Because, they're never going to do Yahweh or Jesus. And they're never going to do Muhammad. And they're never going to do Buddha. They're never going to do any of those. They're only going to do the gods that no one actually still worships anymore, or the majority don't. I'm sure there's still some old school Norwegians out there that still believe in Odin and Thor and all that, but for the most part, it's a dead religion. The only religions you're going to see Kratos taken out are dead ones. The Greek gods. They're not going to bother to do the Roman gods because the Roman gods were just rip-offs of the Greek gods. Maybe Mesopotamian gods. But you won't ever see him taking on Yahweh or Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha or any of that. Zoroaster, the Baha'u'llah. You're not going to see any of that. No. Joseph Smith. Can you imagine Kratos killing Joseph Smith? No, not gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. Digging up L. Ron Hubbard just to kill him in front of all of the Scientologists. Yeah, that would go over great. Do you have a picture of your father? Not that I could show here. I've shown pictures of him before, but I don't have any sitting around right now where I could show them to you. What would chairs look like if our legs bent the other way? Backwards. Do you think we'll see PS All Stars Battle Royal 2? The first one didn't make any money, so I kind of doubt it. No, I've never met BBC. He was supposed to meet me at Retropalooza, but he never showed up. Have I ever shed a tear over a pet? When I was a little kid, yeah, but as an adult, no. Do I think stress will kill Kratos? Not likely. Have you seen The Arrival with Charlie Sheen? Long time ago. Cold Shadow. What's up, 7? Not much. That reminds me, we have 30 minutes left, folks. 30 minutes left. Been one $2 donation. What I mean is Freya is going to team up with Odin to try to kill Kratos and somehow, some way, to find a way out of the world serpent. We'll see. We'll see. Looking forward to the new Ghosts and Goblins. No, I'm not, because I don't like the art style. It looks like Flash animation, Newgrounds crap. I hate the art style. I would have preferred them to do something 2.5D, kind of like Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins on the PSP. 7th, did Sears rip off the Sega logo? I don't think so. Sears been around a lot longer than Sega has. Of course, Sears ain't so much around anymore, but you know what I'm saying. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? I have no idea. If you see her, tell her I'm not looking for her anymore. Thoughts on the Nintendo Etika controversy? Well, it wasn't costing them any money. You know, they'll let all these people on Etsy sell these little charger covers and all this stuff. No one's suing them. No one's threatening to sue them, but they make these covers for Joy-Cons that aren't harming anyone, isn't costing them any money because people still have to buy Joy-Cons to put covers on said Joy-Cons. It's just Nintendo being completely clueless. That's all it is. I mentioned Egyptian gods. You weren't paying attention. No, I didn't like the Golden Compass. The rebooted series on HBO Max isn't too bad, but still wasn't great because I don't really like the books they're based on. Did you ever watch The Amazing Atheist? No. I watched a couple of his videos, but I wasn't like a fan. Seventh, do you like Road to El Dorado? Man, that animation was so good. It's a good movie. I think it was weakest in its story of those hand-drawn DreamWorks movies. My favorite of the hand-drawn DreamWorks movies has been, is, and always will be the Prince of Egypt. Prince of Egypt, in my opinion, was the best animated movie that DreamWorks ever did. And sure, it's just another retelling of the Ten Commandments, but I don't care. It was very, very well done. The music in it was astounding. The animation was jaw-dropping. It was just an incredible film. And it's one of those animated films that I can watch it over and over and over again and not get bored with it. Do you like watching Repzion? No. In fact, I could say fairly assuredly that I've never watched him. I know they look similar. Did you like the Trigun animated series? Yes. And the animated movie. Predicting that Kratos will cross the bridge of the damned and battle a Zeus hallucination. Maybe. Will Nintendo be the last to produce physical games? I feel like they will probably be the last ones to embrace a digital future. When are you going to be in a Game Chasers episode? I've already been in an episode. I was in episode 68. As to when will I be in another episode, maybe at some point after all this COVID stuff happens, I'll drive up there and we'll go chasing, and maybe they'll film it and maybe they won't. I won't be going up there to go game chasing with them because I want to be in another episode. I'll go up there because I want to hang out with my friends. Do you think God of War should have ended at 3? Obviously not, since 4 was so good. Prince of Egypt is the only time that I've gone to see an animated movie in the theater and the lights came up and there was people crying in the theater. It's the only time that's ever happened to me. Are you still 400 pounds? I was never 400 pounds. I got close to 400 pounds, but I was never actually 400 pounds. And no, I'm not. I'm not 400 pounds. I'm still overweight, but I'm not up in that range anymore. I lost a good ton of weight when I was diagnosed as type 2 and they put me on the keto diet and put me on metformin and stuff. I haven't lost as much weight as I would like. I'd like to be in the 180 to 200 range. But, we don't always get what we want. Hard 8 doesn't like a lot of things. Somebody already asked me about Alpha Omega Sin. He decided to focus on real life stuff. In all likelihood, he probably won't be coming back. Except maybe as an occasional guest star on someone else's videos. Like if he decides he wants to go hang out with his buds or something, or he shows up to a Retropalooza. No, I didn't like Joseph King of Dreams. It was made for video. The acting wasn't as good. The songs wasn't as good. And the animation was crap. Do you still use testosterone patches? Yes, I do. I have one on right now. Listen. I have to wear one every day. Goes on here, goes on here, goes on one of the arms of the other arm. Worst wrestling match you have ever seen? Probably the finger poke of doom. Do you think Indiana Jones 5 will still happen? Well, they just announced it this week. But I think it's going to suck because Spielberg's not directing it. It'll be the first Indiana Jones film that wasn't directed by Spielberg. And I think it's going to suck. Because the guy that they named as the director was not someone that I was immediately familiar with. Why do you have testosterone problems? I have no idea. I went to have my blood work done. They said I was type 2. And they said my testosterone levels were low for a man of my age. And they said, we're going to put you on these patches. And I was like, okay, I'll wear these patches. What do you think of Tim Allen being fired by Disney from Buzz Lightyear for political reasons? Well, he's not the Buzz Lightyear that you've seen in the Toy Story films. He's supposed to be the Buzz Lightyear of the TV show that the toy is based on. So it's not so much that they fired Tim Allen, because Tim Allen has come back to do the voice. Tim Allen was already talking about right-wing stuff when he voiced Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story 4. It's not about that at all. It's just that the character that Chris Evans is playing is not the Buzz toy from the first 4 movies. It's the actual character that toy is based on. It's like the show slash movie that the toy is supposed to be based on. That's what he's playing. Do you think King Ramses was a good villain in The Prince of Egypt? Well, yeah. The Game Chaser should let you be a cameraman for an episode. They probably wouldn't ask me to do that because they know I have back problems. Do you think they'll kill off Indy in the Indiana Jones film? I don't know. 20 minutes left, everybody. 20 minutes left. How do you think wrestling would be different if WCW had won the Monday Night War? I don't know. That's one I couldn't really speculate on. 7th, every time I watch the Matrix trilogy, it always makes me think too much. Pretty sure the 4th one is going to F me up even more. I don't know, because they haven't really given out any plot points on what it's going to be about. So, my fear is that it's going to end up being like Dune Messiah, where Paul Atreides became more of a background character because he decided to turn his back on everything that he had built because he didn't agree with it anymore. And then he ended up becoming like this blind prophet that was coming out and speaking out against his own children, and then he ended up getting killed. So I'm afraid that that's what they're going to borrow from with the Matrix, and so Neo is going to become this like blind prophet who is more of a side character rather than a main character. That's what I'm afraid of. That he's going to be out there kind of preaching out against this and that instead of being the main driving force of the narrative. And, you know, I just don't know. It all depends on the story, man. Thoughts on Lucas' original sequel trilogy involving Darth Maul? Somebody has asked me that every week for the last 4 weeks. So what? It didn't get made. You know, it didn't get made. Are you a fan of Brandon Sanderson's books, like The Way of the... I haven't never heard of them. TNA got destroyed in the TNA got destroyed. That's true. But TNA wouldn't have existed if WCW hadn't died, so... Even journalists are disagreeing with The Last of Us 2 getting best direction because of the crunch. Well, you know, I hate to be... I hate to ever be in a position where I'm agreeing with anything that game journalism has said, but in this case... If that's what they've said, then I guess I have to agree with them. You know, no studio that puts their employees through what the employees had to go through to get The Last of Us 2 made should be getting Best Director of anything. Did Indiana Jones feel like Back to the Future? No, not really. Do you think Indiana Jones 5 will be better than 4? I don't know about better, but it could certainly be worse. Did you ever watch The Gamer 2323? Not really. Not really. What are you doing after this? Me and Eighth are going to watch a movie, and then I will go back to Cyberpunk. Good night, 7th, and thanks for the podcast. Happy birthday month. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't talk about that. And, you know, my 46th, talked about it some last week. My 46th birthday is quickly approaching. It's this month, and I'm going to be officially closer to 50 than I am to 40. And that's a daunting thought that I'm only 4 years away from being half a century old. Good God. Good God. And I don't get nothing for my birthday because, you know, 8th doesn't have any money. So, I'm not buying Cyberskank. Okay. Which movie are you and 8th going to watch? Johnny Mnemonic, because he's never seen it. Is it really buggy? I haven't had that many bugs. I've had some graphical glitches, and I've had one crash out of 6 hours of gameplay. So I haven't experienced a large number of bugs, no. And certainly none that were gameplay breaking. It was just, except of course for a crash, it's just been, you know, frozen death animations here and there and that kind of thing. Wait, when's your birthday again? This month. I ain't giving y'all the date. I'm not doxing myself. But it's this month. The big 4-6. Coming soon to a 7th near you. It's pronounced Johnny Mnemonic. Are you liking Cyberpunk so far? Well, it's not like this genre redefining thing that everyone said it was going to be. It doesn't really push gaming forward. It's just good at what it does. It's a fun open world action RPG. Maybe we can send you a gift like a donation. Well, I mean, y'all have had 3 hours, you know. I mean, GTA San Andreas had better NPC interaction than 2077. Have you ever been swatted? No, never been swatted. Hopefully never will, because that's a really crappy practice. I mean, you have people that are getting put in prison now because of people dying from that stuff. It's not funny. It's not funny at all. What's Cyberpunk's synopsis? You're a thug who gets wrapped up, goes to do a job, and it turns out that there's a lot more story behind the people involved in said job, and you end up getting caught in the middle of it. Meanwhile, there was a guy who was fighting against some of these corporations and gangs back, 50 years ago or whenever it was, who got killed, and his consciousness was captured on a memory stick, for lack of a better word, and you end up getting that guy's personality uploaded into your brain, and it's slowly taking over you. So you're trying to find yourself a cure while his consciousness is stuck inside your head and is trying to help you, but at the same time get revenge for his death. Blah blah blah. Can I come live with you when 8th moves out? No. Weird, for some reason I thought you'd be ready to rip Cyberpunk a new a-hole. I like it. I mean, it's not the most original thing that I've ever played, but as far as fun factor goes, and the story's interesting and it's fun to play. Have you ever blown a tire while driving? No. What are your thoughts on Review Tech nearly making it to 1 million subscribers? News for Views whoring is still popular. What can I say? Well, 7th, you got $2 this week, or about 66 cents an hour. Yep. Well, you guys know I never push you guys all that hard about donations. I don't do this for money. If I was doing it for money, I'd be doing it every night, not once a week. And I wouldn't be skipping so many nights because of being sick or whatever. I'd just be pushing through it because I was trying to earn that green. And that's just not the case. And you guys also know that anything that y'all send me usually ends up going towards something to be able to make more stuff for you guys to watch. Like right now, as I said earlier, I'm saving for a little retro console, about $200 that I can use to stream retro games. Because this one is pretty much a bust at this point, and I need something to replace it. It was supposed to be the Polymega, but the Polymega, well, you know how that ended up. All of my money has been spent on 8th Christmas, so I don't have anything left. So it's either, earn $200 worth of donations to go buy one so I can start streaming retro games for you guys and get back to making redneck retro review videos, or I've got to wait until I have $200 lying around, which ain't at the earliest is going to happen February. At the earliest. If it happens then. Because also, on top of that, I also have to start knocking out extraneous bills, because I'm going to have to start paying on my student loans again starting in August. All of my extensions I have run out. So I've got until August, and then I got to start paying $200 and some odd a month on my student loans. Which ain't none of y'all's fault. But if I do get donations, that's what it's going to go towards. Or February, whichever comes first, and hopefully by February I can buy something and start making this stuff again. Favorite Keanu Reeves film? How hard did it hurt when the lady hit your car back in 1995? Well, the actual impact didn't hurt because I got knocked out. It was once the adrenaline wore off that it hurt, and it was pretty excruciating. I had to go to physical therapy and stuff. You deserve your Polymega. Well, I won't be getting my Polymega. No, I haven't been paying my student loans. I was paying my student loans, but when I moved here, it was such an increase in my living costs that I started deferring my loans every year until I figured I got enough raises to cover the cost of the loans. But my raises have been small since I moved to Texas, even though it's the same company. And so the raises have only been big enough to cover the increase in my rent every year. So that hasn't worked out, and now I have run out of deferment time as of July. That'll be my last defer month. I don't care for 8th or his Christmas. Well, I don't care for you, so we're even. No, that lady did not die. The minute her boyfriend's F-150 came to a stop, she crawled out of the truck and went running across the street, not to call me an ambulance, but to call her lawyer. Her lawyer was there taking pictures of the wreckage before the ambulance got there. You got any more dad stories? None that I could tell in 6 minutes. Remember when you guys used to pay $20 to hear a dad story? I ran out of dad stories. Do you have any viable assets or a nest egg plan for your retirement? No. I have a 401k, but it's not big enough to retire on. It's only got about $40,000 in it. Would have more, but I took a loan out on it to have a down payment on my car when my last car got totaled. Eighth is definitely the most mature kid I'd ever feel comfortable being around. The rest get on my nerves. Yeah, he's kind of like that. He's kind of like that. He grew up unusually fast. Circumstances kind of steered him that way. Just is what it is. Just is what it is. 4 minutes left. So if we don't get $48 in the next 4 minutes, hey, y'all can see me next week. Invest in stocks. I used to work for a stock brokerage. I'm never investing in stocks. I've seen people lose it all on one bad call, and then you hear about closing all their accounts out because they jumped out of a window. So no, I don't invest in stocks. I don't trust it. You might as well go to Vegas. And no, I don't have any rich relatives that are ever going to die and leave me all their money. I don't have that either. I don't have that either. Does Eighth still have long hair? Eighth still has long hair, yes. Down past his shoulders. Don't bother trying to get under my skin, wannabe gamer. You don't have the skills for it. Maybe I need to find me a sugar mama. Get some rich woman in her 50s to fall for me. That's what I need right there. Gotta find me one of these divorced rich Texas women's. And, reel her in with the old seventh charm. Yeah. See you, Boston. Seventh, are you doing a 7thCast next week, or is it a Christmas busy day? No. I do all my shopping online, man. I'll be here next week. Unless I get really sick or something. Truth be told, Krusty, I probably should have set up a Roth IRA 20 years ago. I just never did. I've always been the kind of can't take it with you kind of guy. That being said, I've told Eighth that, if something happens to me, that he has my blessing to sell my collection off. My collection's worth, somewhere around $35,000. And then he gets around $150,000 from my life insurance policy, and he'll get 40 something, depending on when I pass away. My 401k could be up over 50 by then, so he'll have a nice chunk of money where he could put in a good down payment on a house, buy him a car, and then put the rest of it in savings and put it in a Roth IRA for himself. So I'm never going to be able to retire, but I've made enough good choices to where he'll have a good head start if something happens to me. Yep, Eighth was just a little thing when I started this channel. Yeah, well, I haven't left the house that much since March 3rd when all this started to really get bad. I've had to go out a couple of times. Like I had to go get my car inspected so I could renew the license plate. And I had one occasion where I went out and ordered curbside service from a steakhouse because I really, really wanted a steak really bad. But for the most part, I've been pretty much here in the house since March 3rd. Anyway, it's 9 o'clock. We didn't make the donation goal, so this is where I'm going to be shutting it down. I hope everybody had a good time. Meaning that you're not good enough at trolling to get under my skin, son. I hope everyone had a good time. Be thinking of what questions y'all want to ask me next week and have them ready to go. 10 o'clock. We didn't make it to 10 o'clock. We didn't make it to 10 o'clock. $50 donation has to get to 10 o'clock. And we had a $2 donation. So, that's the way it works. That's the way it works. If, you guys know that the 7th Cast runs from 6 to 9 Central Time. Central Time. So anyway, this is where it ends. And I will see you guys again next week. Same 7th time. Same 7th channel. Be sweet, y'all.